Hello, fellow Americans. This is Mr. Steffler coming to you from room 111 at Clintondale Middle School, and we are here for the Chapter 8 test. And so I want to talk about Chapter 8. I want to talk about what is due. I want to talk about what's going to be on the test and what you need to get done here right before the marking period ends in 3 weeks so that your grade is nice and high. So let's get started with what's going to be due tomorrow, the day of the test. First of all, our reading notes are going to be due. Our reading notes that look like this, front and back. That assignment's going to be due. Your poster project stapled to that is also going to be due. And today I'm going to give you a test review assignment. It looks like this. That's also going to be due, and that is going to be worked on in class today with me. So let's start out just talking about what the chapter is about. The chapter is about the writing of the Constitution, why we needed to write the Constitution to begin with, what compromises need to be made in making the Constitution, and finally getting that Constitution ratified in the end is what the chapter was about. So it starts out talking about the first government, which is the Articles of Confederation, which was really unable to do much. It formed a loose union of states. It was America's first government. It gave Congress the power to make war and peace, but outside of that, it didn't really do much. It had one branch of government and was very weak and did not have the power to tax. With no power to tax, and then there's no power to spend money, and so pretty much the states could do whatever they wanted. What really shocked the Congress into calling a convention to work on the government was Shays' Rebellion. Shays' Rebellion took place when farmers in Massachusetts took over an arsenal and some courthouses and were really just running wild, and people are like, who's going to stop them? So Shays' Rebellion showed that the government was too weak and that changes need to be made. There was a lot of argument that went into building this Constitution. The interests of the northern states and the southern states, arguments over slavery obviously was a point of interest in the Constitutional Convention. Also, the interests of the large states with large populations versus the small states with small populations is a major argument. One of the things that needed to be done was figure out how many votes in Congress each was going to get, each state. And so they came up with the Great Compromise, which basically had to do with Congress and representation, and it had a Senate and a House of Representatives in that Great Compromise to accommodate the New Jersey plan, which is the plan of the small states, and the Virginia plan, which is the plan of the large states. Now, if you don't remember me talking about that, you really need to review that because there's a few questions on the test about that, mainly having to do with what parts of the Virginia plan and New Jersey plan each called for, and how they were different and how they were similar. This chapter also talked about James Madison, who is from Virginia, who's known as the father of the Constitution. James Madison did all kinds of things. He was very intelligent. He did read a lot of books. But basically, he had the most influence over the convention. More people listened to him than anyone else, which makes him the father of the Constitution. The Constitution's there was lots of different arguments, especially when it came down to picking the executive, arguments over how many executives there would be. When it came down to it, the Constitution gives you the ability for the states to choose the president by using electors. And that system is called the Electoral College, and we watched the video on that. So you might want to review the Electoral College and the choosing of the executive. Then the last part of the chapter came down to what's called ratification, the approval. We needed 9 of 13 states to ratify. Eventually, all 13 states would ratify, and the people who were in favor of ratifying the Constitution were known as Federalists. Some of those Federalists wrote papers. Those papers are called the Federalist Papers. Alexander Hamilton, John Jay, James Madison himself were Federalists who wrote the Federalist Papers. So if you study these items that I talked about on the video, I think you'll do well on tomorrow's test, which is 8 questions, 24 points. Excuse me. Without any further ado, God bless you and God bless America.